Are you thinking about making a move to Fort Myers, Florida in 2026? Whether you're drawn to the sunshine, the beaches, or that lifestyle that everyone seems to be chasing right now, you're gonna wanna make sure you know what it's like to really live here before you start to pack your bags. Because yes, Fort Myers is beautiful, but it's not perfect. In today's video, I am going to walk you through the real pros and cons of what it's like to live here in Fort Myers, Florida in 2026. And make sure you stick around to the end because that last con is something I see affect people when they move here and they don't realize it until it's too late. If you're new here, I am Jessica Gatewood, a real estate agent born and raised here in Fort Myers. So you're getting this info straight from a local who has seen it change over the years, especially over the last few years. All right, let's start with the good news today. The first pro about living in Fort Myers, which is probably a given, is the lifestyle. This is hands down the top reason that most people are moving to the area, and honestly, it lives up to the hype. I know I'm a little biased, I think, because I've been here my entire life. As much as I love traveling and exploring the rest of the country, and there's so many beautiful places in the country, I think that Fort Myers is the best place to live. 9 to 10 months of the year, you're living in what feels like a vacation. You can be outside almost all day, every day. That's, whether you're going to the beach, taking the dog for a walk, jogging in the morning or the evening, walking downtown, or just sitting by the pool. We've got some of the best beaches in the world with Sanibel and Captiva, plus Fort Myers Beach is undergoing an awesome transformation. The bittersweetness of the Hurricane Ian devastation is the revitalization of Fort Myers Beach, which is still in progress, but there are some great spots open down there. Plus, there's the ever-growing downtown Fort Myers River District. County and city leaders are working hard on making that a true destination spot. Honestly, in all of my conversations with buyers, it's always, when we're looking at homes, you're moving to Florida to live outside. One conversation I'm always having is how much of a lifestyle it is just to be outside here in Florida. Most of your living is done outside, and I truthfully wouldn't have it any other way. So if you enjoy being active, being in the sun, and really just having that slower coastal pace of life, this is where Fort Myers really shines. The second pro about living in Fort Myers, Florida, is that it is really still relatively affordable compared to other coastal Florida cities. Now, I have to be clear, and obviously it's not a secret, that prices have gone up a lot. It's wild that it's been 5 years, but in the last 5 years. But when you compare Fort Myers to even places like Naples or Sarasota, or obviously the other coast of Florida, you can still get more for your money here. As we get ready to go into quarter 2 of 2026, we are still looking at a median home sale price between $400,000 and $500,000 throughout most of Southwest Florida. These same types of homes in Naples could easily run you about $700,000. So if you're trying to get that Florida lifestyle without hitting that luxury budget, Fort Myers is usually the middle ground people are looking for. And the third pro, and one that you will hear me say often, if you haven't already, is our location. You're in Southwest Florida, so you're within driving distance to so much that the state of Florida has to offer. You've got Orlando, Tampa, Miami, all doable in a day trip there and back. So you can, run to Tampa and go to Busch Gardens, or go up there to the university if you have kids in college. USF is a very short drive from here. And then same for Orlando. It's just a couple hours there. You can go up there and hit some of the theme parks and drive back in the same day. I currently have a child at the University of Miami, so we are spending a lot of time over there. And that's also a quick easy drive. What I love most about this is that we can get to all of those things very easily and enjoy them just as much as everyone else, which I think most of us as Floridians or people that are living in Florida, we tend to take it for granted how much we have right in our backyard. But that's a conversation for another day. We don't have to deal with all of their traffic all the time. Now, when I get to the cons, obviously, I'm going to land on the way that our traffic is. But we have nothing to complain about when you think about the way that many other big cities in Florida and other parts of the country deal with traffic. I mean, besides driving everywhere, we also have Southwest Florida International Airport, which is obviously a large international airport, and they are doing expansions in there. And then we have the Punta Gorda Airport, which is serviced by Allegiant. So there are a ton of really cheap one-way flights they keep adding hubs. I feel like, every couple months we get a new place. It's really easy to get in and out of here. and you don't have to deal with so much of the frustration of bigger cities. Also, we at our little town of Fort Myers has two major league baseball teams that do spring training here, the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins. And that's pretty awesome. Whether, when you think about our tourism economy as a person that's coming to invest in Southwest Florida, there are a lot of people that come down here just to see those spring training games. So think Airbnb or short-term rentals. That's great for us on top of our amazing beaches and the other things that we have to offer. It's also a lot of fun for us that live here. I mean, there's always something to do here, and it just doesn't have that same overwhelm as the big city. All right, now it's time for the bad news. Fort Myers is not all sunshine and palm trees. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here is the heat and humidity. It is enough to make you want to never leave your house for it. The good news of that, though, is that it's only for about 2 months of the year. And in my opinion, it's worth it. I'd rather see the sun shining than gloom and doom for 2 years out of the year, or 2 months out of the year. Again, I don't know any different. So take that for what it's worth. The summers are intense here. It's 90 degrees outside, but the humidity can be 100%. So it feels like you can't breathe, like there's an elephant sitting on your chest. And then you're drenched in sweat by the time you walk to your car. And then on top of that, throughout the summer, you have literally daily thunderstorms. The good news is that they tend to roll in and out. You can expect it to rain every single day, but it's probably going to last maximum 30 minutes, and then the sun's coming back out. I think the running joke here is that Floridians don't actually own umbrellas because we know it's going to end pretty quickly, and you just dodge it in and out. Take your shoes off and run to the parking lot. So I already alluded to this before. The second con is going to be traffic and infrastructure, and I'm not sure that there is a city in the United States that doesn't have a traffic and infrastructure problem. But this has become a much bigger issue than it once was since the 2021 pandemic era. The last 5 years, we have had intense population growth, and obviously our roads weren't ready for it. I mean, they weren't really handling what we had to begin with. And now you add on a lot of workforce and new residents, obviously, that now we're playing catch up. So what used to be, a 20 to 30 minute commute across town is now 45 to 60 minutes. Plus or minus, depending on, if somebody decides that today's the day to get an accident, or, there's construction crews out, or, that kind of thing. But it's definitely worth, I use my maps everywhere I go, even though I know where I'm going. It's just a matter of, choosing the route that is going to be the quickest. It really depends on the time of day, obviously, which is, I think, everywhere, but you're going to see some congestion in the Colonial Corridor, which runs east and west, and also the Daniels Corridor, which runs east and west. Those two take on a lot of our commuting workers' traffic, and you can definitely feel it at those times of day. Now, before I get into the last con, if you are thinking of making a move to Fort Myers or any of the surrounding Southwest Florida areas, I have created a free buyer's guide. I have linked that in the description below. That's a free download that has kind of a step-by-step process of what it looks like to buy a home in the area. I can only imagine how overwhelming it can be to try to figure out in a new city what location is going to be the best fit for your family or your lifestyle and your job. So I am trying to I do these videos and I make these guides to help alleviate some of that frustration and pressure from y'all. All right, the last con, and something that I don't think a lot of people, it's a discussion that I like to have often throughout the buying process, because I want everyone that interacts with me to have a amazing, buying a home is the American dream. So it's so important to be aware of the actual cost of living here. And that I'm not talking about like groceries or gas or, things like that. I'm talking about your homeowner's insurance, your flood insurance, your property taxes, and maybe an HOA if that's what you're looking for. Our home prices are still definitely more affordable than a lot of the other coastal cities throughout Florida. But what catches most people off guard is everything else that comes along with it. We had some major hurricanes back to back over the last few years, and that really affected the homeowner's insurance here. And, while we are starting to see that kind of be reformed, we can call it, quote unquote, it's still a cost that is going to go up every year. Once an insurance company and once any service provider can get you to pay a certain amount, why would they ever let you go back down, right? That's something you have to bear in mind, that while the cost today is what it is, but next year it's definitely going to go up, whether it goes up $5 or $50 or $500. I want you all to be aware of that and be able to still afford your home based on that possibility for next year and the years thereafter. Along with that is also flood insurance is a major factor here, especially since the hurricanes and all of the major flooding that we did see. I have a video on flood zones explained, and I'll link that here where I go into way more detail, but every single house is different as far as whether it's in a flood zone, and then if it is in a flood zone, what flood zone it's in and what the insurance rate is going to be. And like, there's so much that goes into flood zones. What I want you to take away from this video is that flood insurance is a chunk of change every year if you're in a flood zone, and it will also just count on it going up. And then there is the property taxes. So I do go into more detail on that also in other videos, but property taxes is also something that is going to go up every year. There are very rare occurrences when it goes down. For instance, when there was severe hurricane damage, there was people that were able to get, that recognized in their property's value fixed. But that's another thing that I just say, count on it going up, and hopefully it doesn't. If it does, you're going to be prepared for it. And then there's things to consider of whether it's city and county taxes or whether it's just county. We have the city of Cape Coral, we have the city of Estero, we have the city of Fort Myers, and then we have Lee County. So all of those cities have their own taxes, and then the county has their own taxes. So, since I touched on hurricanes here and how that affected our home's affordability, I just want to also quickly touch on that. Obviously, that's a con of living in Southwest Florida, is that we do have the risk of major hurricanes hitting our area. What I always say, and what I will, stand high on my hill of, is that we are able to prepare for hurricanes. It is the only natural disaster that it's coming. You can get out, you can hunker down, whatever you choose to do, but you get notice. Tornadoes, you get notice, but is it enough notice? Earthquakes, flash flooding, hail, there's so much stuff that is a risk throughout the entire country. For me, I like to know what's coming. Call me a control freak. At the end of the day, Fort Myers is an incredible place to live. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone, but all in all, if you love being outside, being in the sunshine, and that a little bit slower pace of life, you are going to love it here. So on the flip side of that, if you're not into heat or humidity, which, if I'm honest, humidity is year-round, or growth within the city, we are growing exponentially. You may really want to take a second look at if this is the place for you. If you found this helpful, please make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything Fort Myers in Southwest Florida. And if you're thinking about making a move, either within the area or to the area, I would love to help you in that process. Please reach out to me. All of my contact information is in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.